Buckle up for another episode of Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Richard, and sitting shotgun as always is my brother in podcasting, Reed. Hey, this episode is full of so much. God, you love doing that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
This episode is full of so much emotion and tear jerking.
Yeah.
And I'm jerking when I'm looking at Dean.
But you know who's not jerking?
Who?
That plumber, because he doesn't have an arm anymore. He lost his dominant hand.
But he's still thinking about that fire mom.
A lot happens in an episode that otherwise could be a season finale.
100%. So let's get into it.
Ghostfacers! We visit ghosts when others were not. We're ghosts! Ghostfacers! Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot. Ghostfacers! We visit nightmare, we visit dread. Ghostfacers! We visit faceless, we visit dead.
Welcome to Ghostfacers. Today we're discussing episode number 9. Home. We're going home.
Going home, Sammy.
It's about time. Wow, we can finally do that on this podcast. We can actually just say all the supernatural stuff without feeling guilty. I was just like, oh God, we're doing it again. But no, we're allowed to here.
Yeah.
This is the place where we can talk about supernatural.
Yeah. It's the other podcast where we gotta like keep it about what that podcast is about.
Yeah.
Here we get to be full on SPN family, baby.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Shipping so hard.
Oh my God.
We're not like all those Facebook groups that won't let me in. It's all ship all day.
Yeah, they said that the ships that you were pitching them were too graphic, so they wouldn't.
I don't understand what's wrong with that. This episode aired November 15th, 2005. Written by Eric Kripke. Creator written, of course. Directed by Ken Girotti. Girotti.
Okay.
Girotti? I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm gonna say Girotti.
Oh, wow. Just had to fucking one-up me, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Trying to make me look like an idiot.
Didn't really try.
Do it well enough on my own. This episode was viewed by an estimated 4.21 million viewers.
This is this lower than
Way
the previous? This is
lower.
lower than, because we were talking in like the fives in like
the previous episode was
ones,
like
right?
5.9 or something like that. I'm
Right.
assuming that the unsuccessfulness of Bugs dropped their viewership.
Right, because Bugs is
It's known
not
as
good.
it's known as, I didn't hate it that much, but it's definitely known as one of the worst episodes.
just because I keep track of these things, I'll tell you how much you hated it. You gave it a 1.5.
It's not good, but I don't know if it's worth stop watching the show.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it definitely bottoms out the momentum though of the show. Yeah, I mean, but this is the thing. We're talking in the millions of people. That's enough for a lot of people to drop a show.
For sure.
But that's a pretty significant drop.
That's a huge drop. So it's kind of crazy. It clearly is because of the previous episode, because you don't see that kind of drop anywhere else in the season.
I guess not. Yeah, we've generally been talking in the fives so far.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. Yeah. So these episodes called Home, and of course, like we do every week if we can, check out some international titles for this episode, because I always find it really fun. So the Finnish title is Back to Home.
Okay.
The Brazilian title is The Journey Home.
Ooh.
The French title is Home of Nightmares.
Holy shit.
La Maison des Chemins.
Cauchemar.
Whatever. You better.
Wow. House of Nightmares.
I know.
That's a fucking great title.
Especially considering...
That's better than Home. What do you do an English language show title?
Especially considering the German title is only At Home.
Well, yeah, I mean...
I think it'd be a little bit more like ruthless for the German title.
No, they're just direct, to the point. Like,
going back home.
Will you please just tell me what is happening in this episode? Where are you?
Yeah.
Call the episode wherever you are. You are at home? The episode is called Home.
At Home. This next episode is called In Impala. Very simple.
This next episode is called Wichita.
Amazing. The Italian title is called Return to Home.
Sure.
And The Hungarian title is Home, Scary Home.
Holy shit. I take it back. France, get your shit together. Hungary's
Scary Home. The name's Home, Scary Home.
Yeah, I live at 007 Street. Home Scary Home. I guess instead of Home Sweet Home, is that trying to riff on that?
I guess.
I didn't even think of that at first. Just Home Scary
Home. Scary Home.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
The TV guide description for this episode is: the brothers head to their childhood home in Kansas after Sam has a premonition that the family now living there is in danger of being attacked by a paranormal entity.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a really sort of simple concept for this episode. We're not getting a lot of different places. It's really sort of like 2 locations for the most part, and barely that. It's really just home.
Yeah. Scary Home.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, we're approaching like mid-season.
Yeah.
It's time to really like dig into the past a little bit. We've gotten some stuff, the visions and that for Sam are, that's kind of creeping up. It's happening, but so now it's time to be like, it's been a while.
It's been a while. This is a very different episode than we've had so far, and sort of sets a different tone for the show that will say occasionally come in and eventually sort of blend into the show, I think. But this is so much so to even to further punctuate the emotionality of this episode, there is no soundtrack for this episode. There is music, but there is no classic rock artist. The one episode, and I don't know,
like it's only got score. It doesn't have.
That's period. Yeah. When I was looking at the entire,
God, I didn't even recognize that like consciously, but maybe I felt it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like your night with me. Oh no. Oh no.
Jesus.
But it was crazy because I like to go to a lot of the music websites that sort of create soundtracks for all of these different shows.
Sure,
show you what played. And looking at like seasons of this show, you see, I'm not sure when again this happens, but it's definitely on its own and one of few that just have no soundtrack, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, interesting. God, it's so funny because I wouldn't have don't think I would have clocked that and brought it up. But it's definitely like sewn into like the feel of the episode. It's almost one of those little subtle TV magic kind of
isn't it
things,
crazy?
It's a little tool in your toolkit as a creator.
So like I said before, this episode's all about being attacked by a paranormal entity. But before we get into our thoughts on today's episode, why don't we open up Dad's journal and learn some of the real world lore about today's monster?
Yeah, let's see what the lore says about poltergeists.
Ooh.
So, we talked generally about ghosts, but of course there's a ton of like subsets and synonyms of ghosts. So poltergeists is in there. And I think we kind of have a conception of what they are, but basically it's German for noisy ghost.
Again with those Germans.
Just
very straight to the point.
Well, what sort of ghost is in your house?
Well, it makes a lot of sounds.
So noisy ghost, we have a name for that. It's called noisy ghost.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it does stuff too, but in doing so, it makes noise, right?
Does it do these things quietly?
No, I did not think so!
Leave this to the experts, please. Yeah, so it's German for noisy ghost. It's generally it's considered to be a type of spirit that's capable of physical disturbances. So, we see ghosts. I'm saying this like it's real. We see ghosts go through walls all the time.
Yeah.
But like these are ghosts that can interact with the mortal plane, right? Levitating objects, throwing or shaking items, biting or pinching people, all that kind of stuff. There's some version of poltergeists that are sort of like prankstery. And then there are some version of poltergeists that are just terrifying. Like I think you can make the argument that like Slimer in Ghostbusters is poltergeisty, but he's kind of like a pranky, like lovable one. But most poltergeists are not meant to be like that. They're traditionally thought to haunt people as opposed to places.
Interesting.
Which is not really what's happening in this episode.
No.
But that's the general idea.
It's a thing we've talked about in previous episodes, though, being haunted people.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So there's lots of accounts of harassing spirits in different cultures and stuff like that. They appear throughout history, but the poltergeist references specifically become more common in like the 17th century, like the 1600s. Carl Jung, the psychologist, believed that that the subconscious mind could exteriorize and cause physical phenomena. Essentially, he and a couple of other people proposed that poltergeist phenomena, as opposed to being spirits, were caused by a form of psychokinesis. Like,
what?
They thought it was like telekinetic ability.
Wow, that's not something you usually talk about in Jungian theory.
Well, Jungian theory was about like all that collective subconscious, and that there was something that connects us that is more than physical. Exactly. It almost extends not quite to spiritual because it's sort of
metaphysical.
But it's sort of divorced from like religion. But something.
I told you don't use that word in this house.
But yeah, apparently Carl Jung was like, oh, maybe that's what this is. And Freud was like, no, you're an idiot. Basically, which is funny to hear Freud say because he's also an idiot in other ways.
Yeah, Freud's like, that's ridiculous. Now let's talk about your mother.
Yeah, your idea is crazy talk. By the way, I'm smoking a penis. So there's a couple of quote unquote famous cases of poltergeists. I just picked two. One of them is legitimately famous. The other one is absolutely bonkers.
Okay.
So here's the bonkers one first.
Love it.
It's called it's pronounced Jeff, but it's spelled G-E-F. So it's Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a supposed poltergeist case on the Isle of Man in the 30s where these farmers or whatever said that this mongoose was like part of the family and would talk to them. They'd like bring it shopping and stuff like that.
What?
Most of the people in the town were like, no, these people are just like
fucking crazy,
seeking attention or whatever. The best like quote that I saw was that it was generally considered to have been an act of ventriloquism.
Oh, I'm sorry. People saw it happen?
People like would just hear this voice and they were like, huh? That's our mongoose. And be like, I'm the mongoose, or like whatever. My name is Jeff. And then it was like, are you doing that? It was like just like a guy throwing his voice. Yeah, it was
bonkers.
A supposedly haunted mongoose.
So that's basically
a supposedly haunted mongoose.
It's weird that I mean now I understand where this episode gets its story from.
Well, yeah, like if you watch this episode and you were like, but why the mongoose?
That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, check your lore. The other one, it's hard to use words like credible, but this is more of like could have been a paranormal case than Jeff the Mongoose.
Yeah, this was a talking raccoon.
Yeah, much more believable.
Yeah.
This is called, it's from Enfield, which is sort of like a burb of London in the 70s. Two girls basically claimed the existence of a poltergeist in their house. It included like accounts of furniture moving on its own, knocking from the interiors of walls, disembodied voices, etc., etc. These girls were like 13 and 11. And so, it got a lot of media attention. There was like a lot of like, oh my God, what is this? And then these sort of like paranormal investigators would show up, and it generally showed that the incident was faked by the girls, specifically the younger one.
Wow.
I think they at one point had set up like a security camera, and they could see like the one little girl would be in the room, and then she'd wave her arms and stuff, and then when her arm was in front of her face, that was when people heard the voice. So it was like, again, just I can't imagine being in a room with a little girl and not being able to tell she's the one doing like I'm a demon voice.
Oh no, I'm a demon.
But like this wasn't like the mongoose one was patently ridiculous.
Yeah.
This one like stumped some people, and then eventually it came out that it was sort of faked. But it was like, I still don't fully understand how you fall for it at all. But something kind of interesting here is that Enfield incident was the basis for the plot of The Conjuring 2. Because the Conjuring movies are based on those like real life paranormal investigators.
Hell yeah.
They did investigate Enfield.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's based on... The Conjuring 2 is loosely based on this.
Those movies rule.
Except that The Conjuring goes, it was real.
Yeah.
And in real life, it was a little girl pretending to be a demon voice and just moving furniture when people weren't looking and being like, over there.
Wow.
I gotta say, more than the other things I've looked up, you know, the other supernatural things that I've looked up for this segment on this show, this episode, the Poltergeist one, is definitely made the most people look the stupidest.
Really?
Like the incidents, quote unquote, have no sort of unexplained thing. You know, like sometimes they say like they generally considered it to be this, but they could never account for the weird burns on the whatever. Or like there's always like a detail or like something that like if you believe these things you can latch onto, or you go like, but why couldn't they explain that? Like something to keep the belief alive. These ones were just like, oh no, we showed up and it was the little girl. It was just like it really, more than anything else, these poltergeist investigations really make a bunch of people look fucking stupid.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's great lore.
Did you do that?
I mean, I didn't see me do that.
Poltergeist.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Can you look over there for a second?
Oh, yeah. Whoa, what's over
Richard.
there?
I didn't do that.
I mean, you said you didn't, so how could it be you?
And it didn't sound like me.
And I know that I didn't do it. So
probably a poltergeist.
Had to be a poltergeist.
All of our like...
Now I just need to find that mongoose.
All the poltergeist believers just shut off their podcast app.
Dude, they said this was a supernatural podcast. They don't believe it all.
He just alienated the poltergeist community.
Specifically the poltergeists who are listening.
Yeah.
I'm totally real. I'm totally real.
Yeah.
These guys don't know anything. And where's that mongoose?
Oh, God, that's funny.
All right. Well, that means it's time to get into today's episode.
Let's do it.
I'm looking forward to it. Of course, we have to start the episode going back to back in time. We get the intro. Yes. And now, what's this? I thought this was the intro. It's not. It's a new episode. We're back in Lawrence, Kansas.
We're in Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh my God. That's right. Jenny just moved into a new house in Lawrence, Kansas with her 2 children, Sari and Richie. Having moved to Wichita after her husband died, she settles Sari into bed. Her young daughter is nervous in the new house, but Jenny reassures her that nothing is scary. Nothing scary is in her closet.
Yeah, she's doing like the classic like mom thing. Like, here, I'll open the closet for you. I'll show you that nothing is in here. All this kind of stuff. And you know, you got to go to bed. She's being a good mom, but you know, she's got like stress, like stuff is weighing on her. Like
you could see right there when the poltergeist appears in the closet and the little girl is on the bed. There is a clown hanging from the headboard, which is a reference to Poltergeist. Oh. There's a lot of really interesting sort of poltergeist and classic horror stuff, even more in this episode than I've seen in a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
Some really fun little Easter eggs to be found.
Yeah, we get the classic. Also, like this kid knows more than the mom, and that's always creepy in horror because she's like, "I don't like this house," and the mom's like, "Oh, you're just not used to it yet." And the kid's like,
"Yeah, but why is that thing standing behind you?"
The kid's like, "Please don't make me say this explicitly." Yeah. Like it almost always feels like the kid is like, do you need me to hold your hand through this? Like, yeah, I'm a kid. I feel like something creepy is happening.
But no, God forbid that the kid is right about something.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to put the chair behind.
She makes the mom put the chair in front of the closet, which, I mean, I know that this is a little kid, but like, if there is something in there.
Did you ever do anything like that as a child?
No, actually, never.
I totally did.
I never was worried about like monsters under the bed or something in the closet or anything like that. As an adult, I am constantly terrified of home invasions and meteor strikes and all sorts of things.
Because you know how terrifying the real world is.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So Jenny continues.
Kids have no reason to be afraid.
No, of course. Jenny continues her unpacking until a noise draws her down into the basement. Because, of course, if you hear a sound in the basement in the middle of the night, you go immediately
in your brand new house.
Yeah.
You never, ever. Oh, yeah. She says, like, please don't let it be rats. I like when people hear big sounds and they go, is that a rat?
The rat goes, no. And you go, oh, it sure sounds like a rat.
You're in Kansas. This isn't like the toxic New York subway. It's just like sewer system or whatever.
Oh, no. It must be a total cockroach down there.
Yeah, so she
discovers a trunk full of old photos. One shows a family and is inscribed on the back, the Winchesters, John, Mary, Dean, and little Sammy. Yeah. Upstairs, Sari screams as the closet door swings open, revealing a figure made of flames.
I know we were just shitting on it, but did you just hear a door?
Yes, I did.
Do something?
I mean, this first season is, I would say, probably the scariest season.
Well, we've talked about it before. It's the one that is most leaning into
the horror
monster
tropes.
of the week and recreating these like classic horror moments and these feels. Yeah. Right? That is something that I think defines the first season apart from all the others. I mean, there's always good Monster of the Week episodes in every season, but this is the one where it's like, we really don't have a through arc.
Yes.
Really. I mean, a little bit,
we
but
have
not
a concept
really.
and sort of a burgeoning idea.
That's
of
what it is. We have a concept. The idea of trying to find John and like what happened that night is like a thought. It's not a plot.
It's
yet.
a B line, if anything, and maybe even a C. But the A story is always a scary horror trope.
Flaming spirit in the closet.
I mean, it's scary. They do a good job with this, considering it's probably just a guy with a green fireproof suit on.
But you know what's good, too, is that it's the same fire effect from the first episode. We've talked about how they changed some effects from the pilot to other things, but it's the same fire effect.
Totally. So interesting fact, while the show uses mainly Canadian actors, Jenny, who lived in Kansas, was played by Kristen Richardson, who actually was born in Kansas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's a fun fact.
So we get this shot of Jenny like screaming in the window of the house, and like we're seeing it like from outside the house.
Yeah.
And she's screaming and banging on the window, and then Sam wakes up.
Absolutely.
He's had another vision.
And Dean is researching new cases, but Sam is distracted as he sits obsessively sketching the image of a tree. This is the first time we're getting a sketching Sammy before.
Yeah.
Finally, he pulls out an old photo from his duffel bag and recognizes the tree as the one that grew outside their childhood home in Lawrence.
Yeah.
So the thing that he saw in his dream is actually connecting to the real place because he remembers the tree, and he's like, why do I know what this tree is?
Which is funny because he was like an infant.
Well, exactly. There's no way he could have any memory.
Except for the fact that he also shouldn't be having premonitions. So you could suspend your disbelief that he is making a connection here.
As Sam is drawing...
Oh, it's from a photo. That's right. That's why. Because he's looked at this photo.
Exactly. So as Sam is drawing the tree from his dream at the beginning of the episode, Dean says a fishing trawler found off a coast of Cali. Its crew vanished. Now, for people who've watched the rest of the show, there's no spoilers, but this may be a possible reference to Benny's nest working off the coast of California.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Ooh, never even thought of that.
Yes.
Ooh.
Sam tells Dean that he has this dream of something bad happening at their old house. Dean is skeptical as why they should return to Kansas based on a dream, but Sam reveals he dreamed of Jessica's death just the way it happened several days before the actual event. So now we're finally getting sort of that closed loop from he's
not that forthcoming though. Like it's the thing that like some shows do, and this show definitely does. Which is like, we have to go to Kansas. Why? Because we have to. Because I saw something. It's like, well, you got to tell me more than that. It's like, listen,
I saw something,
and so yeah,
I saw something before. But this is the first.
Sam has to finally say that because I think it came up in an earlier episode already that Sam had.
This is the first time that they've ever like straight up said that he had like a premonition. It's the first time that he's ever admitted to it because they've danced around it.
That's not true. He said it in an earlier episode. I'm positive he said it in an earlier episode in some context. Maybe the one where it was like his college buddies or something.
It's definitely the first episode.
It's come up, but he said it to Dean now.
Explicitly state like that Sam has some kind of psychic powers.
Yeah. Feel like it came, or maybe the one with the demon. Why do I feel like it did come up before?
They've danced around it, but never
just fully
never
said
fully said, which
Really?
is why this
Maybe,
is such a big
maybe I'm
deal,
just
right?
filling in the blanks because I've watched.
Dean says, "All right, just slow down, would you? I mean, first you tell me that you've got The Shining, and then you tell me I've got to go back home, especially when." So, if you don't know, The Shining is a movie from 1980, a feature film by Stanley Kubrick based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King. The film stars Jack Nicholson as tormented writer Jack Torrance. Jack's son Danny has creepy visions of impending evil. Another character referred to this gift as The Shining, hence the title. So, there are at least 3 Stephen King story references in this episode. The first was in the beginning with Sam telling Dean about his visions and Dean calling his visions The Shining. So, I'll bring up the other ones as they come up. So, the boys have to go back home. They got to go to Lawrence.
Yeah.
So, Dean is obviously unhappy about returning to his family home.
Well, this is traumatic. I don't think he's been back since.
No, he
right?
hasn't, and he
Since
specifically
that night.
states that. Sam explains they used to live there to the new owner, Jenny, and she shows them around. And she explains some of the strange occurrences that are happening. So, flickering lights, noises.
Yeah, I mean, it's both a thing that I think TV does a lot, but also be very weird if it happened in real life where they show up and they're like, we used to live here. We're just hoping we could see the old place. And it's like, has anyone done that in real life? Like, have you ever driven by an old house and then knocked on the door and been like, hi, this is your home now. I'd like to wander through it.
I mean, I wonder what it looks like inside, but my memory's enough that I don't need to know.
Yeah, I've never done that either, but it feels like a trope in TV a lot where people are like, okay, that's a reasonable request. Sure, come in.
It'd be really scary if someone did that here.
What, because you built your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, so they come in and they start chit-chatting, and you're getting the sense that like Jenny is frazzled. It's partly the sounds and stuff in the house,
being
the
a single
creepy stuff
parent.
happening in the house. It's being a single parent. It's having just moved. It's dealing with all of this thing. She says the place has issues.
But Sari's the one who specifically is just like, it's a bit more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, so she does talk about, the things that we mentioned, the flickering lights, the stuff like that, those kind of usual paranormal hints that they look for when they go and investigate a case. Dean is clearly holding back on flirting with her here.
Yeah.
The eyes are saying a lot, and he's being pretty good.
The mouth is holding back so much. Yeah.
The kid says, ask them if it was here when they lived here.
Yes, which is a terrifying thing to hear.
So scary. And if you're a parent, that's a creepy thing to hear your kids say.
But your kids say really creepy shit like that all the time.
Yeah, well, mine does.
Me, I'm hurt.
Yeah, she's talking about scratching, flickering lights, malevolent spirit, all this kind of stuff. Dean's kind of doing that shutting down emotionally thing where he's like, no, this is the house where mom died. I just don't want anything to do with it. I think
nothing happens.
I think he knows that it's something they should investigate, but he kind of he wants it not to be.
This is the first real episode where we get throughout the whole thing, we're really getting an emotional Dean, which is a brand new thing for this show. I mean, you get little hints of them sort of bonding, but never really getting Dean being emotional of anything. So there's a really funny thing that happens here. So when Sam and Dean are at the gas station, Sam sits down and faces Dean. As they talk, it's all headshots, and now it shows Sam facing the same direction as Dean. When Sam comments he never knew Dean had carried him out of the house, he looks beside him at Dean, and Dean does the same when he responds, when they really should not be facing in the same direction. As again, when the shot pulls back to full body, Sam is once again facing Dean, just as he was when the scene started.
Oh yeah, there is some weird blocking in here.
Like, look, they're next to each other now.
Yeah, in a way that you're right. Yeah, that's right. The close-ups aren't blocked the same as the mid shots.
No, it's very funny.
Oh, that is, I mean, sometimes that stuff happens. Like, it's entirely possible those were not shot at the same time.
No.
You know, like, or they shot at all mids and they were like, we should get more, or they didn't like the close-ups on the day.
Exactly.
Or now they're sitting next to
Exactly.
each other. Maybe, yeah, it's weird.
It's a very funny
You're
thing.
right. The angles are off.
It was a really funny thing that I noticed. After they leave the house, Sam and Dean decide that they need to approach this like any other case and research the past of the house. They compare notes on what John has told them of the night their mother died, and Dean relates what he remembers of the night Sam is surprised he never knew Dean carried him out of the house.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing.
Which is also funny because, like, we've known that the whole time.
I know, right?
That's the first thing you see in the show.
But of course, it makes sense that why would Sam know that, right?
It's that thing where it's like, we as the audience know a lot more than what they know.
But here, to even further make you love Dean, now we're getting tortured Dean. When he has a moment alone, Dean tearfully calls John asking for his help and reveals how upset he is over the whole situation. This is the first time that we really see Dean express vulnerability and strong emotions. And good Lord, is he an attractive man.
I mean, yeah. Listen, if you want to watch Stone cry.
Who knew it could happen? What's funny is
this is good, though. I think is this the first time that he's tried to reach John?
I think so. I think this is the first time.
He's calling, he's leaving a message. He's saying, like, listen, we're here. We don't know if it's the same thing that happened on that night, but like we need backup. I don't know what to do.
But also, this is just too much.
We're seeing that he's, you know, like, yeah, he's been hunting and stuff, but like, he's still young. He needs guidance. He is lost right now. Like, not having John there, he's sort of clinging to Sam like wreckage in a storm, right? He just needs something. So that's seen as a nice little moment to show like just how lost Dean is.
A funny thing, the number that for Dean on John's answering message was 866-907-3235, which for a time was an operational number that you could actually call in real life with voice recordings by Jensen Ackles.
Amazing.
So good.
Love those little things.
It's not in service anymore. Also, when Dean calls his dad's phone, the audio has John's voice saying Dean's phone number was 866-907-3235, but the captions display says 785-555-0179. 785 is actually the Kansas area code.
Oh, I see.
Which is fun.
Nice. I like that. So we cut back to that house.
Yeah.
Jenny has called a plumber in because the sink is backed up. It's one of the issues she's been having with the house. The plumber is here presumably at like 11 at night. It's so dark.
Yeah.
For this plumber to be working. Like, he doesn't even have lights on for work.
It's weird that the plumber said...
It's dark inside and outside, and he's doing work inexplicably in the dark. And this, like, one of those fucking creepy ass, the cymbal monkeys...
Yes.
Keeps starting and stopping, and he keeps looking at it, and then it goes again, and then it stops, and it's creeping him out. Again, I'm not sure why he's working this late.
Well, because, you know, he arrived and he asked her if she wants him to clean her pipes, but but then she actually needed it, so
yeah, he was like, I'm here to clean your pipes, and she was like, great. He was like, fine, I'll be a plumber. I'll be a real fucking plumber.
That's what if for anybody who's actually concerned, if a sexual predator ever says anything like that, you actually just ask them to do that job, and then they have no choice. So it's an unknown fact.
Yeah, it's like the cop thing. If you tell them to perform the job they're pretending to perform, they have to
do it. Yeah, exactly. So if they show up and they're just like, I'm the pizza delivery guy.
If you ordered a pizza and then you were like, maybe I'll hook up with the pizza guy, and then partway through you're like, no, I don't want to, then you can just get the pizza.
Exactly. That's the way. That's actually the rules of it. So just in case you didn't know, the cymbal banging monkey is actually another reference to a Stephen King short story, The Monkey, first published in 1980, Gallery Magazine.
Is that the first time that thing became like a creepy symbol? Because that's like, anytime I see that, whatever you call that actual toy, anytime I see that, I'm like, something bad's gonna happen. There's gonna be a ghost or the thing itself. Like it's even in, is it Toy Story 3? There's a cymbal monkey that like watches them all in the daycare.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's always the scariest thing.
It's funny.
I wonder if that comes from that or not.
It's so the cymbal banging monkey, I'm just looking it up right now, and there's a ton of references to it. It's kind of crazy, but it seems like the first one might be from the Stephen King short story.
Nice.
That's kind of crazy. I wouldn't have expected that.
Very, very creepy. But yeah, so this plumber is working completely in the dark.
Which is the safest way to do any sort of housework.
Oh, God. Okay,
every single time I watch this episode, this scene kills me. Anytime this happens, this is another trope from horror stuff in general.
Like, it's not good enough to just turn the power off. Don't stick your hand in the carburetor. Put something else down there. Grab a wooden spoon. Get barbecue tongs. Don't put your arm in the carburetor. And, yeah.
And of course, what you know is going to happen happens.
Yeah, it's... Well,
they do the fake out too,
and he gets his arm out.
And you're like, great, everything's fine. No, he goes back in.
It's
so brutal. And they don't even show anything. They just show the aftermath.
No, there's a little like meat flings out. Yeah.
So
and the creepy monkey again. Oh God. It is horrifying.
It's really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean they're not showing like a stump or a skeleton.
It definitely tears apart his hand. Just so we all feel better. The garbage disposal units work by using a centrifugal force to grind food instead of blades. The plumber's hand would likely not have been damaged to the extent portrayed.
Still,
just so weird. So now we go to a garage. We're talking to a mechanic. Yeah, the boys are having this conversation with Mike Gwenther, who owned the garage with John.
Yeah. We're getting a little Winchester history. This is what John did. He was a mechanic. I mean, we should have known he was a car guy, right?
Absolutely.
They drive that Impala.
He reminisces about the time after Mary's death and mentions that John visited every psychic in town.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. This is the first thing that we're getting is like, oh, what actually happened? Like, how did they get here?
Yeah. Well, and you're sort of like, what were those early days of like grief and stuff for John? Because like, how did they get? Yeah. What started this path? And that idea of like he was going to see all these psychics and stuff. He said that, he started reading these strange old books and he's going to palm readers and stuff. So you can see like John's descent into the world of hunting a little bit, just sort of told through the eyes of this friend that's like, he just couldn't handle that something bad happened and he went crazy. But
exactly.
I mean, we know that John figured out that it was not normal, but everyone around him was just like, oh God, John, it really broke him.
Yeah.
I mean, and it did, but they think it's different than what it was.
Exactly. So now Sam searches through a telephone book for psychics. A name rings the bell with Dean, Missouri Mosley. The first sentence in John's journal reads, I went to Missouri and I learned the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that John like writes his diary deliberately cryptically. Like, I imagine them driving all the way to Missouri. Like, they get to St. Louis and then...
Hey, classic father withholding.
Yeah.
So the boys now visit Missouri Mosley, who is telling an insecure man that his wife wasn't cheating on him. But after he leaves, she mutters that his wife is having an affair with the gardener.
Yeah, she says the words, that woman is cold banging the gardener, which is incredible. It's so funny. She's so sweet with the guy, and as soon as she closes the door, she turns to them. But it's a nice way of sort of, it shows like that there's an element of charlatanism to psychic, but she also is psychic.
Yeah, she's psychic, but it's like, I'm not going to like, I want to keep stringing this guy along.
So like, just because I can see the truth doesn't mean people should know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She recognizes the boys without introduction and also knows of Jess's death and John's disappearance, which is kind of crazy because she's like, I'm sorry to hear about your girlfriend, and it's crazy that your dad's missing. And they're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a very quick, very fun setup to show that she's the real deal. You don't have to, like, we don't have to spend a bunch of time wondering if she's messing with them.
I love the, don't put your foot on my coffee table. And he's like, I wasn't going to. She was like, yeah, you were. You were thinking about
it. Yeah.
Which is really good. I love this character a lot, though it does play on a trope that's kind of not great in television and movies.
Like the wise black person.
The sassy black lady who's magical.
Yeah.
It's not a great thing, which is unfortunate because this actress is really great and she's great whenever she shows up on the show.
I mean, it's a tired, vaguely racist trope, but she is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like the character itself, not just the role the character is playing, is great. She's got a lot of heart. She's very emotional. She says, like, I know something was wrong with that house, and it was evil, and it was dark. Like, it was not just some random ghost. Like, this was legitimate evil.
Exactly.
She's afraid, and she's got, like, she remembers it, you know, like, this is not something that has left her. So
she's seen a lot of supernatural shit, and this has specifically stayed with her for a really long time.
Exactly.
So you know that it was something scary and bad, right?
Exactly.
So we go back to the house, to Jenny's house, and Richie is escaping his playpen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just want to mention, because she's saying it right now. You sort of have this, like, almost like Obi-Wan thing happening with her, because she's like, I keep an eye on that house. Something evil happened there. I keep an eye on it. But no crazy deaths, no weird killings. Like, that, it's been quiet. So she's like, I've been here, I've been staking it out for 20 years. Or whatever it's been, you know? And then, Then we cut back to the house. Like all the child locks open, and like the playpen opens, and Richie gets out and goes to the fridge, which has opened by itself.
Scary shit.
Very, very scary. Yeah. Ugh.
It's funny. So
it's setting off all the parent alarms for me. And then Richie goes to the fridge. He like sees his milk or something, and then like the fridge closes and locks him in.
So when Richie gets trapped in the refrigerator, the clasp that holds the door closed changes whether it's locked and not. When Jenny rescues him, it is not locked, although she pretends it is, which is really funny to see when you
just like the blocking thing.
Right? Yeah. It was
clearly like they set it up and they couldn't make it look natural enough or fast enough. Like
exactly, like you'll see right here. See, it's unlocked.
Oh, that's funny.
So she'll walk up to it. Yeah, she sees the milk coming out of the bottom of the fridge
because she's looking for.
See, look,
Richie.
it's unlocked, and she.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah,
she pulls it up and then opens it, which is very weird.
So creepy. And I mean, Richie is fine. He's not like blue or anything. No. He's fine. But the fact that he was in the fridge, very scary. And immediately Sam and Dean are at the door. And then she's like, "Why are you here?"
Yep. They return to the house and they've got Missouri with them, and explain to Jenny that they can help rid the house of whatever is there.
Sorry. Can we? I just want to pause this for a second.
Yeah.
For so long on our other podcast about comic books, you would bring up, this makes me think of Supernatural.
Oh my God, does this make you think of comic books?
This is my first of what I will be many. This makes me think of a specific moment in comic books. So, this like Missouri, this character and the role she plays in showing up to the house and being psychic.
I know what you're going to say.
She's like that Madame Waxahachie character in that Dead Man comic.
I figured.
She'll sort of like, she knows more. She's connected. She comes in and goes like, yeah, something's happening here. And she's got that sort of energy, you know, like, that sort of confidence, but also like y'all don't know what you're messing with.
Well, exactly. Right. Yeah. It's very much like that.
Yeah.
Look at you bringing comic books into Supernatural.
It's finally, it's payback.
Though that is something, and I know we'll talk about it a bunch as the show goes on, but there's a lot of similarities between like comic book storylines and Supernatural.
Even like the way they tell stories. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. There's a lot of parallels in there. So Missouri walks through the house and senses two presences, one of which is a mean poltergeist, but neither of which is responsible for their mother's death.
Yeah, she's like, I would know if it was the thing from that night. It's not. But it's
nasty and mean.
But also the reveal that there are two things in there is sort of crazy and creepy. So she says, like, the poltergeists are here because
of what happened to your family.
Yeah, her metaphor is that kind of evil leaves wounds. Sometimes wounds get infected.
Yes.
So it's not like another incident has tied a spirit to this place.
No.
But it was that something so evil happened there that a spirit was just drawn to it. So now these unrelated poltergeists are in this house, which is pretty wild. It's a cool concept. It's a very sort of clear metaphor. But But yeah, she says she can't make out what the second one is. She knows that one of them is malevolent. That's the one that trapped Richie in the fridge and garburated the plumber and stuff like that.
Well, exactly.
But she can't figure out what the other one is.
Exactly. So now the boys have to prepare the house to get rid of the spirit and purify this house. It's adorable because this is the first time the boys have ever messed with any sort of really witchcraft or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the first time we see them doing like spell work where they're mixing ingredients and like roots,
which is funny because they even go like,
that.
"What is this? All this stuff." So cute.
It's funny because it feels like such a normal part of their toolkit later, but again, because they're young and new and striking out on their own, they're encountering these things for the first time.
Absolutely. So Missouri helps the boys prepare the bags filled with ingredients that will help purify the house. As they start placing the bags, the poltergeist fights back.
Yes.
So it's kind of a crazy thing. So they enter back into this house and send the family away.
Yeah,
so
they have to put things in. Is it in each corner or each like cardinal direction, like north, south, east, west, or something? So they've got to place this stuff in the walls of the house. And as they're doing it, then they start getting like thrown around or locked in a thing because the poltergeist is trying to stop it from happening.
Yeah, they pin Missouri to like one of the basement walls.
Yeah.
They start dragging Sam around.
It's like throwing knives at Dean.
Yeah.
So Dean has to like put up behind the kitchen table.
Starts choking Sam with a cord, I think it was.
Yeah, like a telephone cord or something like that.
And it actually makes it look like Sam dies. I even wonder if this is like a commercial break.
I mean,
when the show is on.
Right, yeah.
Feels like a moment they would do that. But just as we think Sam's dying, Dean shows up and starts trying to pull the cord off of Sam.
Yeah.
But can't do it. Like, it's too strong. So he goes, well, what needs to happen is I need to
Kudos to
create
Dean.
that other hole.
Kudos to Dean for being smart enough to be like, I can't fight what this poltergeist is doing to Sam, but I can finish Sam's job.
Exactly.
Like, that will solve all the problems. So, kudos to Dean, who is sometimes a blunt instrument, for actually thinking that through.
But what an instrument.
Oh, God, so blunt.
Love to use that tool. So the poltergeist fights back, trying to stop them. Finally, all the bags are placed. The house appears peaceful. And Missouri declares the house is safe.
Yeah.
Everything's over. Wow, what a short episode.
Yeah. And can you believe that there's like 20 minutes left? Or 15 minutes left?
It's just them driving for the rest of the episode, having quiet conversation.
Yeah, just quietly. They're not even talking. Yeah. No. It's like a screensaver.
Just like that's when the classic rock
lampposts going by. Yeah.
It's the same one too. It's like the Flintstones. They didn't want to pay for it.
That would be an insane episode. That there's your Emmy.
Could you? That's something that like a modern day show would totally do.
Yeah.
It's like an episode where nothing happens and they just drive around.
Yeah.
I mean, that is almost like an episode they do later on.
But yeah, so they believe they have solved it. They let Jenny and Richie go back and her kids go back.
Sam isn't sure.
Sam, reasonably skeptical.
So the boys camp out in front of the house inside the Impala and just wait to see what happens.
Classic poltergeist move happens inside here. Bed starts shaking, like furniture moving. Like that's the thing that we know from movies and stuff like that. This is like real classic poltergeist kind of stuff.
God, get something new, poltergeist.
Yeah.
Jeez, what a hack.
Hey, listen, when you want a poltergeist, you want them to play the hits.
That's right.
Throw knives.
That's right.
Shake furniture.
Yeah, make people puke pea soup.
Yeah.
When Sam expresses unease about the house being poltergeist free, Dean says, why? Missouri did her whole Zelda Rubinstein thing. The house should be clean. This should be over. Zelda Rubinstein played the diminutive medium in Poltergeist.
Okay, there you go.
So, because you know how popular that reference is.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I probably should know what that is, but I think I've only seen Poltergeist once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jenny suddenly appears, screaming at the upstairs window, just like in Sam's premonition, his dream. Just so the boys rush inside, and Dean takes Jenny to safety.
Yeah, we see this spirit in flames in the closet,
in the kids' room.
Really good effect because the spirit is basically transparent and the flames are like outlining it.
My guess is that it's a green fire safe suit, so that they can just remove the suit? Because it looks kind of like the form of somebody in a fire suit.
I actually don't. I think the scenes where the fire is actually in the room, you can't see the form in it. I actually think the whole thing is visual effects.
Really?
Because there's a couple of shots where you see real fire, and it just looks like fire. Like you don't see an arm or something in it. I don't think they set someone on fire for this.
Really?
I think
it's all just visual.
I think it's visual. They may have mocapped someone or like green screen someone just to get the movement or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all of that and the fire is VFX.
So that's really interesting. As Dean is grabbing Jenny, Sam takes the kids. And just as they're about to leave the house, Sam senses something, stops, and sets both kids on the ground and tells Sari to take Richie and go outside, just like their dad said to Dean.
It's like
while holding Sam.
This is a fucking moment.
Right? This was a cyclical.
Moment. Even the first time I watched this, I was like, I kind of got goosebumps a little bit. I was like, this is a moment.
Right?
It's like anything that's sort of like history repeats itself, or like you're coming into your destiny. Like those kind of things kind of get me a little bit. And this is such one of those. Because Sam does, we know he's got a rough relationship with John, so to see him in John's position is something kind of powerful.
Well, exactly, right? So the kids go back to Dean and go like, Sam's still trapped in the house. So something that's funny that happens. So when Dean runs back to the house to rescue Sam, you can see the shadow of a cameraman. It's very quick, but it's pretty funny. So Dean breaks down the door and finds Sam in the dining room where some force has pinned him to the wall just as the fiery figure appears. But before Dean shoots it, it coalesces into a figure of their mother, Mary.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, so another Shining reference, Dean hacks through the door and followed by a shot of him looking through the hole.
Yes, yeah.
Just fun. So yeah, we get the mother walking in flames.
Because this fire figure hasn't done anything. It's scary looking.
It just walks
but it
around.
just walks around. We've never seen it like grab anyone or do anything like that. So yeah, it does. It turns into their mother. Well, not turns into, reveals itself as their mother. Which is
but I mean, it makes sense because their mother died in flames like that, so it's like a physical manifestation of like what had happened in her death. What happens often.
And this is the thing. They've already dealt with the poltergeist. The thing that we talked about is the monster of the week. Poltergeist is gone. But what we talked about with ghosts before is that violent, sudden death, unfinished business. Those things tie you to a place. And that is Mary. As this sort of fiery specter. She's tied to the place where she was killed. And yeah, God, what a moment,
right?
It's actually like, for a first season show, it's only 9 episodes in. We don't know.
Do something this impactful.
This could be like the end of a first season. We go back
100%.
home. We meet our mom. Like this would easily be a season finale kind of move. And they put it in episode 9.
It's just before the middle of the it's earlier than even the middle of the season.
Yeah.
It's impressive that they went for something like this.
Yeah, Barry doesn't get to talk to his mom in episode 9 of The Flash.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the end of the first season?
It's the end of the first season.
That's crazy.
And so like to see it like then contrast with this, like that's kind of a power move for this show is like there are bigger things than this.
Yeah, this is
which could be a big thing.
This is just the thing that gets them going on this adventure. Like the mother is.
So the mother says she turns around and says like, "You let go of my son." And
looks
stuff
upwards
like
towards what I'm guessing is the poltergeist.
And we basically get like a ghost fight, a very quick ghost fight, which is the flames go into the ceiling and then
dissipate.
Yeah.
So. I mean, that's the first. We already got a vision of their mother, which is crazy that it's you would think.
And it's not a spirit just taking on the form of their mother. It's their mom.
But also, you would think that if by the time their mother shows up in the show, it would be a bigger thing. It would go maybe multiple episodes. They would have more of a stake in the show, but they're just like, yeah, the mom was there. Yeah, she's gone. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, we're already moving past. Like, that is so not important because the whole point of the show was they're trying to figure out what happened to her, which also they don't even are like, hey, BT Dubs, what happened to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Why is this happening? It's kind of crazy. So at the end of the episode, Jenny and her family return to the house. Missouri promises to keep an eye on them as Sam and Dave take their leave. It was actually originally planned for Missouri to be the boys' ongoing advisor / parental stand-in, but the actress took on a regular role of Adele Weber on Grey's Anatomy. Who also, the actor that plays John Winchester, was also on Grey's Anatomy for a while. So it's interesting. But this opened the door for a later character to come in as their parent.
Yeah, and she just says, like, listen, like, she's gone. I've been in that house. It's over. Your mom is not here, right? And which is sad for Sam, but he's got questions about, like, him having premonitions. She says, I honestly don't know what's happening. She's like, it's not the same as what I could do. You're having something different happen to you.
Yeah, she basically says that she's surprised that given his powers, Sam couldn't sense the presence of his father. And you find out, and she's just saying this out loud, and then as the final shot happens, you see John Winchester is sitting in her room.
Yes.
Just crazy. Missouri tells him to go and see his sons, but he says he can't until he knows the truth. This is the first real appearance of John Winchester, excluding sort of counting the past when they escaped.
Which is also a big move for this show because, like, now you're kind of getting rid of the mystery of if he's even okay.
Yeah.
You're saying, like, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's watching them.
Yeah. Because we know he got Dean's message. Like, he's paying attention. That's a pretty big power move, I think, for the show to both give the mom thing and reveal that John is okay this early on. Like, this is episode 9. That wouldn't be like a mid-season finale. That would put it in... No, you said this came out in November.
Yeah.
So there's still like 4 more episodes before the break.
Yeah.
Like...
They're throwing some big stuff right away. Also showing that John knows about Sam's abilities, which is crazy because she just casually says that to him and there's no reaction. So clearly it's information that he already knows. God, that man hasn't aged a day.
No, he looks good.
Good Lord.
Oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Just still got his wedding ring on.
I know. It's a lot of like heartstring tugging in this episode. But you know what? It doesn't come off. I think it actually plays well. I mean, that's partly on the strength of actors like Jensen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan and this actor playing Missouri. Mm-hmm. It's partly on the strength of their performances that you're getting like the sense of the evil or the regret or the sadness or the loneliness or whatever. Even Jared is, I would say, pretty good in this one. And I generally don't think he's as good as Jensen, but he's pretty solid in this one. So it actually comes off really sincerely. Like, it's a legitimately emotional episode in a show that to this point has been a little bit like kind of horror, kind of sexy, kind of.
And this is one of the scarier episodes that we've gotten so far as well.
Yeah.
And there are no deaths, only one major injury in the episode. It makes it the first episode in the series with no fatalities, period. Although the plumber...
Oh, shit. I mean, the plumber gets fucked up, but he doesn't die.
Yeah, he's still...
Oh, shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Even think of that, yeah.
And
God,
there's also...
Is it the only episode at all with no fatalities?
Isn't that crazy? There's also no police presence in this episode.
Yes, also true.
None of the characters react to it as though he died. So we're assuming that the plumber is fine.
Well, I mean, he survived.
He's well enough.
Lives. He's not fine.
He's well enough to file a lawsuit against Jenny, probably.
Yeah. Who calls a plumber at 11:15 at night?
Crazy. So that was it. That was episode 9, Home.
Wow.
We are getting some major pieces of the larger puzzle in this one.
Definitely.
Crazy episode, super emotional. We got no deaths at all. Like,
yeah.
This was
really,
and still
really wild.
Successfully a very scary episode.
Yeah, it's scary because it's trading on some of those things that we talked about, like the shaking furniture or the creepy monkey symbol thing,
Crazy
or
kids, yeah.
just a man putting his hand into a carburetor.
Oh.
Like, all of these things are so simple, and it's iconography we recognize.
Yeah.
We know that the bad thing is going to
Yes.
happen. You know that we know that something evil has happened there because we've seen every
Totally.
episode of the show, and they show us at the start of every episode. You know, like it does what Bugs fails to do, which is keep it simple, keep it direct, and make it about the feeling, not about like these convoluted, like, and then we got to go to this place, and then we got to twist over here, and then this thing. has
And
to
only a
happen.
couple like goof ups too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, those are in every episode of everything. There's a goof somewhere.
Even some of the
You can
biggest movies of all time.
You
have
see
gotten
like
them.
a feather from the boom mic, or
Yeah.
like there's always something, you know.
Absolutely. So why don't we do our reviews for this week's
yeah,
episode?
let's do it. So why don't we rank this out of 5 fire moms?
Oh, okay.
How many fire moms do you give this episode?
I thought you were gonna do sink stumps, but yeah, the fireman.
Oh, sink stumps is good. Either a fire mom or
Okay,
a sink
I'll
stump.
do sink stumps. You can do fire mom.
Yeah.
It's really gonna screw up our whole wiki.
I don't know. Fire mom is already kind of like an auto fill in my Google. So.
Yo, that mom is fire. All right, I'll kick it off. This episode is one that, for me, is I don't want to say forgettable, but it's one that I don't think about very often.
Yes.
But then watching it, I'm like, oh, this is a really simple episode. I know all of the beats of it. Brings in Missouri, who is an awesome, great day player. Love her a lot. You get first sight of the mom, first sight of the dad, like a lot of big firsts that happen in this.
Yeah.
You're getting emotional Dean. You're getting
It's
closure. You're
it's
getting
a big episode for moving the show forward.
absolutely. It's genuinely scary at moments.
Yep.
There's cringy moments that like with the stump.
Yes, yeah, that kind of cringy, yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff that genuinely like well filmed, great visual effects. Like there's a lot of really high positives for it, but I think it doesn't do anything huge, which I think it needs to.
Yeah.
I think it needs to like get things across, and you don't want anything like that's too big because the show's got a lot more of first season 1 left. So you can't do
Yes.
anything gigantic, but you do a lot in this one episode, which is impressive, I would say. So my review of this. So we're doing it out of 5 sink stumps.
You're doing sink stumps, yeah.
Yes. So I would give this a 4.8 sink stump.
Wow. And you could do that with a sink stump because you can cut off as much as you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
4.8. That's the highest you've ranked anything so far.
It's a pretty like flawless episode. I think it gives you some great stuff. I think the only thing that's really missing in it is some fun between the boys, but it can't really do that in this episode.
Yeah.
It achieves what it's trying to do. It doesn't really have any major falters. It's genuinely scary. Like it just ticks off all the boxes for me.
I agree with basically everything that you've said. I think this is a legitimately great episode, but it does fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder a little bit, even though I know it's good, I've rewatched it. It's a good episode that does a lot of good things that we've talked about and moving the show forward and some good character moments. But for me to basically forget about it, for it to totally slip from my mind, something is missing. And I don't know that I can put my finger on what it is. If it is about missing the fun, or if it's about needing something a bit more bombastic, or I literally do not know what is missing, but I know something is missing because I completely forgot about this episode entirely.
You're right.
I think I can't rate it as highly as an episode that sticks with me like Wendigo.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to give this 4 fire moms.
Okay, I'm going to change mine to 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a little bit more of that stump off.
Trim it just a bit more.
Yeah.
It's basically just at the bottom of his hand. He's still got a lot of arm left.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna alter mine up to 4.5.
There we go.
I think it's definitely better than that. I'm just looking at what I like rated some other things.
Yeah.
Like this is better than Dead in the Water, although that's a great episode.
Great episode.
And it's better than Phantom Traveler,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stick with me like Wendigo. I got to put it between. This is a great episode, but it's understated and maybe to its detriment.
Think of it
Because we
like
don't talk about it enough.
Think of it like an album, right?
Yeah.
And this is it needs to have the slow song in there that chugs on your emotions.
Yeah.
It serves it well because of the other of everything else that's around. If this was a movie, I would be like,
and it is. I think I think we're also looking at it as especially good because it comes right after Bugs.
I mean, yeah, that's true. The juxtaposition of this episode really works for it.
Placement does a lot for this kind of thing.
As we said in previous episodes before.
Well, yeah, because that was the whole reason certain things went in a certain order, right?
Yeah, and the failing of some episodes. I would say.
So I think I feel good about giving it 4.5. Fire Moms.
Yeah, that mom is fire.
Yeah, fire.
It's weird that category just showed up online.
It's just this episode in its entirety on Pornhub.
Still works for me. Well, that's it for this week. If you have a note about a future episode, or maybe you wanted to just say hello, you can send us an email at
ghostfacerspodcast@gmail.com.
So well pronunciated.
Well, because the S is in there, I don't want to lose that.
That's fair.
Yeah. And you can find us online and chat with us. We are Ghost Facers Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Got the trifecta with the same handle, baby.
Wow. God, we're so professional.
Yeah. Hit us up. Tell us like stuff that you like about this episode. Or if you noticed like camera goof or something like that, it's always fun to see what people pick out of these things.
Also, we love thirsting over Dean. So,
or now that we've seen him, John.
Oh. That's zaddy.
Yeah. John is zaddy.
One of the most, I mean.
Yeah. I would go so far as to say he's Zinchester.
Say goodbye, bitch.
Jerk.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.